What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Salt and Light Podcast. My name's Adam. I'm here, as always, with Keenan, Graham, and Kurt.
That's right.
Yeah. Welcome. We're so glad you're here. What are we talking about?
Well, you know, we were talking about my time at the water park last weekend. There's one thing I didn't, the one time I did go down the water slide.
Was it a seniors water park?
Which I don't pursue. No.
Wow.
No.
That's offensive.
It was a heavily
Keenan's sitting
tattooed,
very close to me. Just
heavily
so
tattooed
knows.
water park, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
There's a lot
I
of people
felt a
there
little bit out
with
of place.
tattoos?
A lot of people with tattoos, yes.
Do you have any tattoos?
I don't, not at this point, but I feel like maybe I should acquire one.
Especially if you're going down a seniors water slide.
But when I went down the water slide, I ended up having to face backwards the whole time, which gave me this weird buzz in my head, and I was like dizzy for about 3 hours afterwards.
I was going to say, was it good,
really?
3
Good
buzz,
hours.
or was it
something
like
that. Like
so
as
almost
long
like
as
a
it
vertigo?
took Gilligan to land, well,
Yeah.
the tour.
The
was
tour.
something- Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
So I got over
That's
it, though.
pop culture
I feel good now.
reference.
That's good.
Yeah.
Keenan, do you have
Just
any
because
tattoos?
No, I don't have any tattoos. Just
That's
because you went
surprising.
down what that surprises you?
Yeah. I
That
feel
does
like
not
after all your
surprise me
time
at
at
all.
Maine Maritime, I would expect at least 1 or 2 tattoos on the sailor.
Yeah.
you
Do
know?
you-
Like an anchor on your
Do you want to hear a good
On your
tattoo
massive-
story
Why
from
not?
Maine Maritime?
tricep. Yeah.
So we were in Ybor City, right within Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is kind of one of those metro cities that has all the little.
I've been in Clearwater.
Yeah, so
I've
we were
been
in
to Tampa,
Ybor
too.
City, and this is my junior year of college, and we were sitting within the view of the glass bottles that typically sit behind a bar,
Yep.
as in the alcohol bottles, and on there's a typical there's a brand of said liquor that has a gal on it, and it's called Sailor Jerry's, and so my friend sitting there
Not a
said,
sponsor.
not a sponsor, said, I like
Or an
that.
endorsement.
Could they be?
He said, I like that. And I said, what do you mean like that? He goes, I like that so much. I want to have that picture on my leg.
Nice.
And we said, that's not a good idea. And yet he actually the next day went in Ybor City and got a tattoo of the Sailor Jerry's girl on his leg.
That's
Wow.
total
Pretty
commitment.
legendary.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. And I said, this is how bad mistakes are made. And you realize them a decade later. Is
Was
when,
he of sound mind when he did that?
Quite, yeah. No.
Wow.
And yeah, it was surprising. And so that's how I think you wind up in some situations with tattoos.
How have you been led into a bad place, bad mistake? Is your friends, did they ever
a
put
really
you
good
into
question.
a compromising position that afterwards you regretted?
Yeah, I can think of one.
Yeah,
I
go
was
ahead.
working at a summer camp, and we had this drink called blue juice, which is just basically this blue substance that was mixed with water.
The blue substance.
It's like a
does
Gatorade
that mean?
So
powder.
it was like Gatorade powder. Yeah.
And
Harmless.
I'm really kind of a competitive person, and I fall into peer pressure easily. So it's a perfect storm. And we had these big pitchers of blue juice, and one was sitting on the table, and my co-counselor and all the 13-year-old boys around the table started saying chug, chug,
Oh, no.
chug. And then the whole dining hall proceeded to pound the tables and go chug, chug, chug. And so I stood up and I chugged an entire pitcher of blue juice. And at that moment, I instantly regretted it.
Did you gain
'cause
any superpowers or
I
anything?
felt this burning feeling in my stomach, and I ran into the bathroom where another counselor proceeded to give me the Heimlich maneuver so I could get it out of my stomach because I couldn't let
Give
it
you the
out.
Heimlich to get liquid out.
He was
Interesting.
like, well, I was like, I
It
need to
wasn't
throw up.
clogging
I don't
your
feel good.
Esophagus or your
No, he
trachea.
just didn't.
He was
He
just like
needed to get
pushing. He was
that-
just like
Yeah.
pushing on my stomach.
needed to get a
and
pitcher's worth of blue Kool-Aid up out of him.
It was the toilet was painted blue. Sorry for all of our listening audience who
Wow,
may be
yeah.
sensitive to that sort of.
Yeah, this is.
But
new.
that was a mistake, that was definitely a regret of mine, and
You wanted
so
to please
now
the
that you
crowd.
guys know, I'm
Yeah.
a crowd pleaser to a fault, and it's a good learning moment for me in my life.
I had a very similar experience, actually. at
Really?
Summer camp as a counselor.
Ah, you
except
guys, church camp.
It wasn't blue juice. It was milk. It was six glasses of milk.
Oh no!
Wow.
Have you ever
It
done
wasn't
the?
that bad, though. I didn't throw up or anything, but it was...
Did you ever try the gallon challenge?
No.
That was
Isn't
the thing in high
chocolate
school.
milk mile? Is that what you're going to say?
No, the gallon challenge is you have to drink a gallon of whole milk in an hour, and people say
could do that.
physically your body can't do it. You will.
can't do what?
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. So
I could do that.
yeah,
Wow.
or eat an.
So everybody, next week on our podcast, Adam's going to be chugging a gallon of milk.
Yeah, I'll do it
Whole
on
milk.
the, on the
whole milk.
podcast.
We're going to be
Whole
here.
milk.
Be an hour-long
and then-
We're going to take an hour.
And then we're gonna ask you to eat a good size dispensary of cinnamon. Have you ever seen that happen?
No.
You've never
Well,
seen
that'll
somebody
be
try
the
to
week
eat cinnamon?
following. Let's do one
I've
thing at a
seen
time.
that
Dispensary
before.
of cinnamon.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
one of those like shakers for like spices.
Oh.
It is
Right.
The cinnamon
surprisingly
challenge?
difficult.
The cinnamon challenge is
It dries your mouth out
People
like nothing
died from
else.
that, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yes.
At least
Yeah,
one
we-
person.
Someone
we-
died from
yeah.
that?
Think
But,
so?
yeah, they've had some problems with it.
They might have
Wow.
to do something else.
We'll
other
just
than
start with
cinnamon.
killing you from the milk, and then
Yeah.
'Cause that's
the milk
supposedly
doesn't get me.
impossible,
The
yeah.
cinnamon will.
Shout out to Magnus Lewis, because on my Facebook wall, if you like dug really deep into my feed, you would see a video of Magnus Lewis completing the cinnamon challenge
No.
in 2012.
Really?
Yep.
well, who's not going to be on that Facebook wall then?
What do you mean?
We're all going to go into
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
We're
so
about
you
to
can
crash
search right now.
Facebook
Feel free to
servers.
like as many comments or edgy, song quotes as I wrote out in high school statuses that I made. You ever get like updates from 15 years ago or 10 years ago on Facebook, and you're just like, oh,
What were they like?
I
Blink,
hate it.
like Blink 182 quotes.
I can't even remember one off the top
Michael
of my
W.
head,
Smith.
but it was like, I remember my
Green
first
Day.
breakup in high school
Mark Schultz.
happened when I was 16, and I wrote a lot of edgy, dark quotes and stuff on Facebook. And
Is that
yeah,
your
so-
emo phase?
Yeah.
Like Kelly Clarkson, like since you've been gone, I can breathe for the first time.
I honestly can't think of any off the top of my head, but they're there if you
Are
want to go
you?
look.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Are you still addicted to pleasing people?
I'd like to say I'm recovering.
Recovering?
Addict, yeah.
How does that work out in your life?
Well, I find the more I focus on Jesus and pleasing Him, the less I seek to please others.
That sounds like a Sunday school answer, but so what does that
Well,
mean?
yeah, I mean, it is kind of a Sunday school answer, but
Yeah.
I try to keep it in perspective of what am I driven by, and what do I believe, and what's my identity, and where am I getting my value from? So if I'm in a conversation and I say, I think a big place would be like if I'm getting my hair cut and the barber or my hairdresser is like kind of going down a topic of something I disagree with, not just nodding my head and being like, yeah, that's right, but actually not being a jerk about it, but respectfully being like, actually, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
You ever?
It's good.
Have
Yeah,
you ever
no,
been put in a situation like that?
Yes. It's hard to find that center place where you can sort of disagree.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. It's better to not have any response than to nod your head, and especially if it's something that's, leans toward a bad thing. You don't want to even appear to have some sort of embrace of it.
A guy that I like on YouTube, his name's Sean Mcdowell. He he's like an apologist and a professor out in
What was he apologizing for?
the Christian faith. It was more of a defense of it, really. But yeah, he does a good job. I just recently watched a YouTube interview with him, and he was chatting with a lesbian conservative atheist, which is a really interesting combination.
They weren't three different people.
Nope, they're
Oh, wow.
all one person. Yeah. And so he's kind of more of a
Different than the
conservative
Trinity.
Christian. And I'm watching them navigate this conversation, and I'm like, the way he just allows her to say these comments and then even at times disagrees, because at one point she's like, well, I feel like all the religions at their core really they're saying the same thing. And he goes, that's interesting you say that, because I feel like on the peripheries they might be similar, but at the core they're in stark difference from each other. And so it spurred on this really good conversation. But I really respected his ability not to just kind of be like, yeah, that's true, because I think sometimes you could easily just kind of placate, or sometimes I can catch myself doing that. Yeah,
What
people
road-
pleasers.
What bad road
shout
have you
out.
been led down, Keenan?
It wasn't a robe. It was a shipping channel.
Uh-oh.
And I got a chance to be a part of the world's largest floating fraternity
Oh.
at Maine Maritime, and plenty of stories that would that would overwhelm this podcast.
Did you sing a lot of shanties out there when you were at the sea?
Not a lot of shanties. No,
They weren't pirates.
no, we weren't pirates.
Arr.
Yeah, we were. We
Do you have a
did.
peg
We
leg?
did. We did do a. We did do a anti-piracy training quite a bit when we were on the boat, and so we had a retired Marine who was a young guy. I think he probably got kicked out of the Marines. I don't really know if he retired.
Did Tom Hanks come in and
No, but because
share his
of, to be
experience?
honest, because of the situation that everyone sees in the movie Captain Phillips,
Right, that's the movie,
our training became intensified because it became very real that we'd encounter some Somali pirates hanging out and coming to try to board the ship. So we would do anti-piracy training, and we would be in these classrooms while we're underway, and the boat's kind of rolling along, heading down the Med, and this guy really took it to another level. To the point where he said, okay, we're going to do a couple scenarios. I'm going to come in and you guys will just have to react best you can based on the circumstances you have. So he came in with a fake knife. And so we had to disarm him, right? And disarm the knife. And then second
was he
round,
going like 100%?
he was going pretty, yeah, he wasn't a big guy. He was about Adam's size. So we just
Okay.
kind of muscled
So
him to the
not
ground.
a big guy at all.
But he was feisty. And then so it was me and two
Were
other
there
guys.
any like bruises left on
Doesn't-
anyone?
Oh yeah, there was. It was full on
Slice
wrestling.
off his hand.
Wow.
And then he came in with a plastic, but high density plastic pistol, and so we had to disarm that and do all. The third round was an absolute surprise to us because he came in, pulled the pin on a grenade, and lobbed it into the room, and one of the kids in the room just dove on the grenade.
Wow. Captain America.
And I'm laughing because I can just picture
Act
Gabe
of
Schubert.
valor.
If you're ever
Wow.
listening, Gabe, I hope you are. I hope you do come to know the Lord.
Sounds like
He
might
I'm
literally-
assuming it was not a real grenade.
He wasn't actually a part of the three trio that were trained to take this guy out. He was just a spectator, but just the grenade coming into the room, he dove out of his seat onto the grenade, which was not live whatsoever, and just to be
Wow.
a hero. And so that's what I imagine when we talk about piracy is we did a lot of anti-piracy training. And watched. I don't know why pirates would have grenades in their hands as they're coming on a boat, but we were trained out. We
They
knew how to
probably
handle it.
wouldn't.
So, yeah, anytime you take a bunch of 19, 20, 21-year-olds overseas and let them run wild in foreign ports, things happen. And so, and then everyone gets rah-rahing and you go further. And thankfully, I didn't wind up finding my plane ride back home early or winding up with the Puerto Rican police officers bring me back to the boat in handcuffs.
So this is so similar to what Graham was talking about wanting to please other people. Mob mentalities end up having us follow along with the mob more because we're afraid of what we'll look like if we don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I would also say mob mentalities also encourage each other to say, how far can we take this? Because this could get really funny, depending on how
True.
you thought funny was. Because I will say, and I agree with you, Kurt. I
Which
think
can be another moral compromise. in and of itself.
Exactly, and what you find to be humorous, because there's many times that you just wondered who's going to be the one to take it as far as it could, and there always was one in the crowd, but quite quickly everyone realized maybe that was we're miles beyond crossing the line at that point. But yeah. There was Kurt's contemplating.
That was the quietest it's ever been.
that was good.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm
we're
just
still here.
I'm just wondering.
Here's a mob mentality moment. So at school there was this kid. I will tie this back to the gospel somehow. There was this kid that was literally one of the nicest kids ever. And at Christmas time, instead of getting ready for finals, while everyone was studying for finals, he would dress up in a Santa outfit and walk around the 650 person dorm and give away Christmas presents in the form of deodorants or toothpaste, and he would buy it all with his own money, and he would go around ho-ho-hoing with a pillow in his belly to hand these things out. And so his junior year, which was he was a year behind us, he asked the president of the academy if he could put in a Christmas tree in the courtyard across from the cafeteria area, which the president said yes, but didn't realize he was going to dig a hole and stuff a 12-foot tall Christmas tree in the courtyard.
Like
and
a
so
real live tree planted it in the ground.
he had cut the tree, but dug about a 4-foot hole and stuffed it in there and buried it again before the ground froze. So the ground then became frozen.
Wow.
Well, we didn't realize that. And so while we were on campus before we broke for Christmas, there was this grand idea that we would take down the Christmas tree at night. And so people ran out, me included, to go pull this tree out of the ground. There's 6 or 7 of us, but the tree was so frozen in the ground, we couldn't get it out of the ground.
Wow.
And the campus police showed up with the lights going. And so we scattered, and there was a bolt for safety. And one of my friends actually ran out to a spot on the campus where the campus police were patrolling, but he realized they were coming up, so he started walking. And the campus police officer drove up next to him and said, "Were you just pulling the Christmas tree out of the ground?" He said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Were you just one of those?" He goes, "I have no idea what you're talking about." He said, "What are you doing right now then?" He goes, "Well, I'm trying to walk home. Want to give me a ride?" And the campus police officer said, "Sure, jump in. I'll go back and find the other guys." And so he dropped him off his house and went back. So
Nice.
he actually picked up a ride home.
That's next level.
Campus police aren't the hardest to hoodwink, are they?
Those were the deceitful days that you realize all of
Walmart brand detectives.
I just imagine him getting out of the car and looking straight into the camera and just smirking.
all of the
There's no camera, of course.
all
but
the
you know what I mean.
tomfoolery. You look back and go,
like Jim Halpert.
Yeah.
wow, we spent a lot of energy just pleasing ourselves instead of maybe doing some things a little more wholesome. And but the mischief was still fun for stories.
That's
Yeah,
relatively
it's-
harmless.
Yeah, relatively harmless fun.
It was probably the most harmless thing that
You still got all
we
your
did.
fingers
We
and
did.
you got your eyes and you got all your teeth for the most part, it looks like. So
for the most part.
yeah, but going back into what Kurt was saying about the mob mentality, or was that what you were talking
I
about?
started to talk about
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
That's fascinating to me.
We're
What
going against the grain. Are you willing to go against the grain?
I'd like to think so. I think of classic visual of that is the opening scene of The Chosen. If you look carefully, all the blue fishies when they turn blue, they're starting to swim the other
way.
Come on, what does that look like in your life? But it's true. I mean, when you're a Christian in this world, it means sometimes you have to stand up to the
So
The people
groupthink.
that could have been your very best friends.
Sure.
And that's what's happened with me and my relationships with a lot of my friends in Maine Maritime.
I was just talking to a woman the other day who she feels like she's lost the relationships of her family because she became a Christian in 2020 and has different viewpoints. And now that she's following Jesus, her family, she feels judged by them or outed by them or ostracized, whatever the right word is. So it's interesting.
yeah. What about in the church? So you're all going to the same place. Let's say whatever your church is, because this is a vast listening audience.
Mm-hmm.
Nationwide.
Yeah, people in Estonia or whatever.
Worldwide.
Yeah.
Worldwide.
That you could disagree with other people who are all going in a particular direction, and you in your heart, what about this? You see it this way. So it's not just that you look at it differently. You think that the way that people are going is not godly, for instance. So you really think strongly about it. How do you deal with that? How would you approach that? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Church.
In your local church, that there's a movement towards something. You're saying this is not of God. How do you approach that?
Personally, I take my ball and I go home.
Oh yeah,
And I go, you guys are wrong.
yeah.
And I never
grab your
talk
Bible
to them
too?
again.
You bring your Bible with you?
Yes, I take my Bible and I go, you know what, guys? I'm starting my own church. That's a joke. No, I that's a really good question because I think it happens a lot. And I think it's happened in the past 2 years even with some over certain issues. And Keenan, what do you think?
Wow,
I don't necessarily
you
know
didn't
if
do
I-
anything with that question.
Honestly, I was
Dished it
just,
off.
as I was speaking, I realized I don't have a good answer for this.
Graham's like, I'm sitting in hot water. I can't talk about that. Well, I think we obviously can look to the scripture and see that so often the easy way out is to talk about the movement behind people's backs. I say the movement isn't a bunch of people moving in a direction, but like the movement of the mob, heading away from a godly direction. We just go gossip about it. I think there's a progression, right? And I actually been walking with a friend of mine who it's been a 2-year process of it's funny, the mass of people isn't necessarily going anywhere. It's their lack of going anywhere. It's their desire to maintain what they have that's just not furthering the kingdom or the gospel. So it's taken this friend of mine a good part of 3 years to be able to go through the process of bring up his concerns, sharing his peace, trying to influence from within, see any change that might take place, getting wise counsel from the outside, getting counsel from the inside, and finally making a decision. So I think there's a lot of steps to it that could happen quite quickly, in a matter of a day, or it could be years. But I do think that it's avoiding the even the perception of, well, they just picked up the ball and went and played somewhere else. But that we can be a good witness, because what we don't want to do is also get caught up in the stickiness where maybe it's best to even separate ourselves. I mean, I think of like Lot, right? Lot was advocating and saying, but they're good men, but at the end of the day, you gotta turn away, and sweetheart, don't look over your shoulder and even see what happens there. So I don't know. There's a lot of different perspectives, but
it really is the role of the prophet, though, of what you're describing. And I think oftentimes when God, if he does give us a revelation, whether it's through a dream or a word, or you just have a gut reaction to something and you're thinking, that just doesn't seem right to me, that seems like a compromise of what God wants. I think it's so important to appeal to the word and to use that as your bridge to other Christians and say, hey, we both fall under the authority of this same scripture together, and reason, like it says in
you
in
have to
Acts.
reason together. You have to do it in humility, right? Because you don't want to become this
thus saith the Lord type of person.
Right.
Yeah. And you don't I don't think you want to be the type of person to, hold up the cardboard sign in front of the church on Sunday,
That's never happened.
I see it everywhere. Yeah. No, I know you're joking, but
Not in at least the last 2 years.
I even went to
remember that?
Yeah,
my wife's home church out in Missouri, and there was a guy that was holding up a cardboard sign outside of that church. So
you don't feel the cardboard sign is effective?
I don't.
So really, what we're kind of saying
most
is
of the time,
what's the if you're really feeling your heart that there's a movement that's going awry or stray, whatever. You need to ask for wisdom on how to approach that the best way possible.
And a megaphone.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And a megaphone, yeah. Yeah. No, I think using your relationships and doing it in a relational way and talking to the leaders of the community as well, rather than trying to blast it out on a public forum or getting on a soapbox or whatever it might be, because I think in those instances, now you're risking something worse, which is disunity and discord for the sake of, well, it depends on what the issue is. Some issues genuinely are worth a split or going your separate way. But that's only after you've done everything you can, kind of like when Paul's like, all right, I'm going to the Gentiles now. I can't deal with.
So you have to be really in tune with the Spirit. You need to be abiding with Jesus before you step off on that ledge.
Totally.
Well, and going to my friend that I was talking about, that was the immense grace in it all, that he had to get to a place of abiding before he could really make a decision and have the peace that wouldn't haunt him of I just left because I couldn't handle it. That I just want to comment, that's what made it so peaceful and successful for him and his family as they transitioned from a church they grew up in, was that he was abiding and hearing from the Lord and did his diligence, and now it's almost like a spiritual dusting your sandals off kind of thing.
Right. Go back to Graham's earlier comment, which was half in jest, but it's real, and many of us, if things aren't going our way, we want to take our balls and go home, right? I mean, it's just a natural.
I actually got that saying from you. I think you said that a couple of years ago and it stuck, so way to go.
I don't like doing that.
What's that?
I said, I don't like doing that. I'm more of like a king of the hill kind of guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm going to make you take your ball and go home.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
It's kind of a scary thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So you like to be more of the bully than the victim.
Yeah, it's good we've outed that today. That we know what to look for from Keenan.
That checks out.
Yeah.
My trust in you has
Makes
now
a lot of
increased.
Should.
Now we know who wouldn't jump on the grenade.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Keenan
Yeah, you're
threw the
right.
grenade.
I was not the one.
Yeah, he did throw it. Yeah.
Keenan is a thrower of the grenade.
I will win this battle.
I will
Bam.
win. But left to our own devices, I think there's a couple of different ways we handle those situations, and we've got to be aware of them and allow everything to be seasoned with salt for the gospel's sake, for our witness' sake. Because I've got a lot of friends that we'll say that I didn't have a lot of Christian friends when we came down this area. Most of my friends were calling us to be out Friday and Saturday night in the Old Port to meet with the street disciples on the other side of the uniform, right? And I think we were caught up in that, and then when we decided to start following Jesus, you have to reckon with it. You have to wrestle with it, and you have to maintain those relationships as He leads, but also maintaining a certain proximity to those relationships results in just really uncomfortable situations, to your barber in the chair thing. When you choose to sit in that chair and there's this inappropriateness of maybe the discussion. I've been there in a barber chair, and I hate to say it, but I usually end up choosing, I'm just not going back, because though that person might needs a relationship with somebody who is a believer, it's going to compromise me or put me in a weird spot that I don't want to. It's no different with some of our friendships that we can have that were the original mob that we wanted to hang out with. They're going one way, and you sometimes have to sever them, at least for a season. And I've seen a lot of those rekindle and even reach out in times of their chaos. I haven't chatted with them for years, but they know that I'm in a different place than they are, and they need some sense of security in their hearts, so they reach out. So
I know when I get my hair cut, sometimes my wife gets really inappropriate.
Uh-oh.
And I say, I'm going to go somewhere else and get my hair cut.
Easy, Kurt.
As I leave the basement. And
Does your wife do all one level, or does she do the side shorter?
We're number two. Just
Number
the whole
two.
thing. Just go for it, baby. Just get it done in about under 10 minutes.
So Magdalene cut my hair during the pandemic. The first time she did it, the clippers weren't adequately juiced.
They weren't adequately juiced.
And so
it
ran out of
battery. This was not a corded
mid-stroke,
okay.
and it just went and just pulled up a bunch of my hair.
Yeah.
And I just had this landing strip on the back of my head.
So you canned her.
What's that?
I
can't. No, I didn't can her because I didn't have another choice. There was nowhere to go. This was like in the lockdown, and I was just like, everything else is closed. So these boys over here, they're laughing. They're laughing up a storm.
Yeah.
Laughter sometimes is
Adam
a sign of
get
the
his
spirit.
haircut. It's gonna go for the next.
I haven't gotten my
5 years.
haircut.
I really get a haircut.
Good one.
My brother's girlfriend cuts my hair.
That's cute.
Yeah, she does a good job too.
She does a good job.
I've gotten my haircut with her. Nice. Good job.
What am I missing out
I've
on?
never seen Keenan. Just for our listening audience, Keenan is doubling over in laughter over on the side
I
of
want
the
to join
couch.
this
And
mob.
honestly, it's as if he's in the Cane Ridge revival right now, and he's just been struck by the Lord and can't help but to be giddy.
That's right. It's just too much fun to hang out with you guys.
Oh man,
I just laugh at the fact that all the different haircut stories. We're just such a diverse group that thankfully we're united in the Lord.
Amen. Well, is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
What are we looking at for time, Adam? Have we warned everybody?
28 minutes, 51 seconds.
Oh, so we got plenty.
We got
of time
at least
there.
9 seconds.
Let's
Adam, is there any?
Minute, 9 seconds.
You've been quiet over there. Is there anything you want to chime in about this
subject?
subject?
I feel like I've talked the most out of any of the podcasts I've been on so far.
Oh.
But
It's
You
still
wanna
not
talk
sufficient.
About tattoos, grenades,
Mobs.
mob
mentality.
tattoo, I don't have a grenade, and I didn't have friends for the mob mentality to kick in. So
Well, that's a really sad upbringing.
I don't have that many either.
That
I'm
is
with
the
you.
antidote to
Yeah.
mob mentality. Is
just don't have
friends.
Yeah.
No, I
introvert.
agree.
no,
Yeah.
I didn't choose to not have friends. It wasn't a personal choice.
It was just your lot in
That
life.
was just real. Yeah.
We're your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
And our vast listening audience is also your friend.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys.
We're all one community.
Thanks.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm okay with it. Yeah. Keenan's crying.
I'm crying.
Oh, man.
Oh man.
Yeah, well, So no grenades, no
I
mobs,
don't have a grenade that I
no
know of.
tattoos.
I have 2 tattoos.
Oh, okay. So talk to us about those. Were those a mob mentality decision?
No.
Oh, okay. Because you didn't have friends.
Right.
Gotcha.
The first one I got with my wife and my father-in-law. We
Wow.
all got tattoos
We got a
together.
lot of family engagement here in some of these things.
Yeah.
So you all went together.
Yes. It was my wife and I's first tattoo. It was his, I think, second or third
tattoo. Could you tell us what each of you got for your tattoo?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I could.
All right.
Well,
What do you mean?
I got a Hebrew word, zamar, which is one of the 7 words that are translated as worship. It's about worshiping with playing strings.
Okay.
Or just specifically about music, not singing necessarily. And I have it on my wrist so that I can see it while I'm playing.
Oh, wow.
See what I'm see
Yeah.
what I did there?
Be sure
Wow.
you don't mention that to the a cappella Church of Christ.
Those are very
That's right.
strategic.
Yeah,
I was actually going to, so good thing you said that. So
Yeah.
I'll make sure I don't.
How about your
avoid-
wifey?
avoid
What'd
those
she get for
forms.
her tat?
She got a leaf, I think, on her ankle.
Any particular leaf? Was
It might be.
okay.
Um,
And Father,
Like the
I'm
one-
not very well versed in leaf.
Like the one from the
types, huh?
tree in her backyard or something? Or was it a
Yeah.
tree type?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It might be specific. It might just been a
and
decent
father-in-law.
looking leaf.
Father-in-law. What did he get?
He got some praying hands.
Praying hands.
Wow.
Like the emoji.
Yes, kind
Nice.
of like the emoji.
And
And it has a word that's in Anna's handwriting.
now Bob must be tatted up, right?
No,
No. Okay.
nope. The gardener, the parents will probably never be getting
Never,
any
okay.
tattoos. Yeah.
So I have 2 questions. One is, what's wrong with plain English? Why does everyone have to do Greek or Hebrew? I'm just kidding.
Wow.
No,
Attacking this tattoo.
I love Greek. I love Greek and Hebrew.
It is a
Beautiful
little
languages.
cliche. It is a little stereotypical.
No,
But I
it,
didn't get
makes
like
sense. It's a conversation starter in
Yeah.
a lot of ways.
Right. I didn't get like a cliche Hebrew word to put on. Like
And
I
it
don't know.
probably
What would
is
that be?
a
Shalom?
lot shorter of
Yeah.
a tattoo than if you just had in English play worship with strings and instruments.
yeah, that would be a lot.
That'd
That'd be a
be-
lot of my arm.
that'd
That'd
Be like a
Yeah.
wristband.
It'd be
a lot
little
more
odd.
expensive too. A lot more real estate.
Yeah.
Did
you ever
have
feel when
had
you
any
look down?
pushback on the tattoos though, as far as people going, "You're a Christian, you're not supposed to have tattoos"?
Not really any
That's good.
any of that.
You could go to the
reason.
water park.
My
I was
mother
at. You'd
wasn't
be welcome.
super thrilled.
Yeah.
Your mother wasn't.
No,
Yeah.
Huh.
Do you
I won't
feel
say a
now
comment that she made.
do you feel like
Could you
you're
please share
more-
us the comment she
Oh
made?
yeah, share the
Yeah,
comment.
I'd like to
she
know
might. She might
She's,
not.
don't worry, she's not
That's
going to be
okay.
listening to this.
No, but my dad does.
Does he?
Yeah, because he tells me every time he listens to it.
Oh.
He said, "Listen to the
Bob,
podcast."
Bob.
He won't rat you out.
Yeah, Bob, don't rat him out.
Well, it was after I got a significant size tattoo on my forearm, different than the Zamar. Obviously, that's
That's the one with the vine.
only 3 letters. So
You
it's
get the
not,
vine on your arm or something.
yeah, it's a floral type thing. No, she told me that my body was beautiful blank after I already got it, but she didn't mean it in She just kind
okay.
of said it. She didn't really mean it in a mean way.
Did you furiously start scratching it off?
Yeah, I was like,
Uh,
it's permanently on my body. But other than that, and that's not like because of religious reasons. No, I haven't really gotten any pushback.
It sounded
your
to me
question.
almost kind of like a loving, "You are enough."
Yeah,
yeah.
You
Wow,
know,
that's
I
pretty
almost
deep.
see like a Robin Williams kind of Goodwill Hunting
Yeah.
moment.
Thank
there.
you, Sally, for that. Yeah.
You're enough.
Yeah.
I was thinking about getting like a Leonard Skinner eagle on my back,
that would be awesome.
intertwined with like a cross and maybe like an anchor.
Okay,
But I just,
that'd be expensive.
yeah, it would break the budget.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's a moment where actually thinking about the approval of man might actually save you some flack.
Yeah, I think so. Right? We just busted that out and was just like, yeah.
See, conformity is not always a bad thing.
No.
If you want to get a
Especially-
Leonard Skinner tattoo on your back, then it could be a good thing.
Hey, it was a dream of mine back in the day, but Jesus changes those. He does, because my body is beautiful blank.
Yeah. Keenan hates my tattoos.
No, I don't. I think they
No.
look great,
Thanks.
but we're gonna cut your hair.
We. What do you mean we?
we're gonna use the same clippers Graham did that ran out of juice halfway through the first strike.
Dude, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. It was horrible, and everyone laughed, and then I just had this blank spot on the back of my head. It's horrible. Do we have any rolling credits here, Adam?
No sponsorships yet.
No sponsors yet,
If you're
but
interested
we're
in
open.
sponsoring the podcast, email
So
saltlight at eastpoint.church.
If people
That won't go
wanted us
anywhere.
to take their
It won't go
questions, who
anywhere.
should they email? Should
have
they
it-
email me?
Yes.
Adam.gardner at eastpoint.
No, actually, if you have any questions, any at all, really, or any feedback, suggestions, or just want to write long paragraphs and have somebody contemplate them, send them to Kurt at eastpoint.church, and he'll get back to you very quickly.
Yeah. Let's close with a cappella of Freebird.
Which song?
I think I should close before you do
Oh,
that.
Freebird.
It is a
Excuse me,
song.
sorry. When I heard you say that, I thought,
Yeah, Adam, why don't you just
Yeah,
close
I
this?
you know
think
what?
it's
I'm not
time.
going to justify
I'm gonna
myself
hit.
in
I'm
this
gonna hit my button now. That triggers the music. Okay.
I'm as free.
All right, guys. That's all we got time for today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being our loyal fans. We appreciate it. We'll see you next week.